Well, we are noon here, Florida time. Welcome everyone to day 3 of our 5-day holiday challenge, our Trade Live edition. I think I said that a little backwards. Anyways, Eric Roth here, and I want to say a very big welcome. Let me come on camera, and I want to thank you. Good afternoon to you, Vinny. And who else is with me today? I want to say hello to everyone in the room. I know we have an awesome group of challengers. So hello to you, Vinny. Who else is with me today? And I'm going to go on camera right now. All right. Hey, Alan. Good to see you. All right, guys. It's Eric Roth here, and I'm live in my home office in South Florida. And it is actually quite a nice day today. It started off raining, but the sun is out, and I'm very excited to be with you today. And I just want to let you know, for each of you that are here with me live and on time, thank you. Lee and I really appreciate you. And I'm seeing a little bit this morning, okay? So today I'm gonna be with you guys for the next 10 minutes. And I really just wanted to do a check-in, a personal check-in with all of our amazing challengers and really make sure that the energy level is up there. So here's the deal, right? So it's day 3, right? We had an awesome day 1, right? Or awesome orientation, right? We dived right in with Lee, going over exactly all the tools you'll need to be successful, right? Our NinjaTrader software, right? We went all through that day 1, and then yesterday, Lee over delivered, right? 2 hours going over our JVB news trading software and our trap trade software. Those are two of the biggest tools that we have here. So I want to start off. I want to do a quick check right now, energy level. I want to know, how is Lee doing? Because before we continue forward, I want to make sure that everyone's learning. So do me a favor, in the chat from 1 to 10, and be honest. Is Lee crushing it? Are you guys learning a lot? Are you liking his learning style? Let me know from 1 to 10 in the GoToWebinar chat if you guys are how much you're learning and how much you're really appreciating Lee and everything he's gone so far. Okay, now while we do that, in the next few minutes, I do want to go over a couple housekeeping things, okay? And partly because I want to make sure that everyone's really experiencing what the challenge is all about, right? Isn't this exciting, by the way, guys? I mean, don't forget, right? We have actual cash prizes on the line, okay? And I know we have some past winners here in the room with us, but I'll tell you that one of my favorite things to do at the end of the challenge, especially for the top 2 prizes, right? We're giving away $300 cash, right? It'll be digital, right? So I'll PayPal you, I'll Zelle you, we'll figure it out. For our first place winner or second place winner, $200. That's one of my favorite things to do at the end of the challenge, is when we have our winner, is to send out that money. And it feels good because I know who the challenge winners did the homework, right? And so that's part of why I'm here. I want to remind everyone this is not just another webinar, right? You're in it, guys. You are in the challenge with challengers from all around the world. And I mean that literally. So do me a favor. This is my first housekeeping item. And Lee, you can help me out. Lee is behind the scenes. He's ready. He's getting his voice ready. Post in the chat, Lee, our magic link, which is www.5daybdbonusdashboard.com. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of the hiccups from my Coke Zero here. So www.5daybd.com. And I want to make sure that everyone could access that. I'm going to show it in a second. And if you're in the WhatsApp group, which I have here, I want to know where everyone is streaming in from. Okay, so if you're in the WhatsApp group with me, okay, go ahead and post where you're from. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. South Florida. Here we go. So post in the WhatsApp group where you're from, and I'm seeing a lot of folks typing in now. Okay. And so with that, I have a feeling that some of you are in the wrong WhatsApp group, right? And so I want to make sure I take care of that. Okay, so we got Nitlin from Seattle, Washington. We got Alan from Utah. We got Frank from the Netherlands. Guys, keep it going. I want a roll call. I want to know what city, what country are you from, okay? And I want to just tell you, we're only 5 minutes in, and every single one of you that are with us today, you're in for a special treat because in just a few moments in today's agenda, Lee's going to go over our pro trade room, and surprise, surprise, right after the challenge ends today, we're jumping in as a bonus into our pro trade room at 1:30 for an awesome trade, our FOMC. We're going to be taking a trade live in the room, right? And all of you are going to be getting a free password to our trade room, not only for today, but for the rest of the week. So I'm going to, Lee, you're going to show everyone how to access it. You're going to show everyone all the great bonus rooms in here. But let me just, real talk for a second, okay? And again, two things. If you just joined us, I have two asks for you. Number one is in the GoToWebinar, type in the chat from 1 to 10 how much you're enjoying the challenge so far from 1 to 10, okay? And be honest. And that's partly if Lee's doing a good job training everybody and keeping it fun. And second thing, in the WhatsApp group, I want to know where everyone is streaming in from. So remember, when I'm asking you to do all this stuff, this engagement is part of who's going to be the winner of the challenge. So I see who's being a good sport and who's you're going to definitely you're going to be closer to winning the challenge. Okay, so let me just say, nothing to hide here. I'm actually going to take if I have everyone's permission, I'll take a picture of everything I'm seeing here. But I'm seeing lots of great feedback. Okay, lots of great feedback. And you know what? To be fair, we also have some feedback that but I'm seeing 10s, 9.7, 10s, right? So Lee, you're doing a great job, and that's like 9.7. That's good. We always could. There's always a little bit more that we could strive for. Okay. So, Frank, thank you. I see you in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So let me go ahead and share a couple things just to make sure you guys know what I'm talking about with the challenge dashboard. Okay. Let me go ahead and do that. And I'll tell you, just emceeing for Lee, I'm telling you right now, if we switch places, guys, it's not as easy as Lee makes it out to be. Lee's a real natural, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and take over control. And here we go. Okay. Yes, and you can see my screen, guys. And you know what? I didn't mean to share this screen, but if you're seeing it, you see we have 228 people registered in our challenge. And you wanna know something? We had over close to 100 people that were live with us for day one, right? And then guess what? It slowly in day two, right? Went from 100 people live to 70. And right now, I see we have about 40 to 50 people live in the room. And you want to know something? That's life, right? It's easy to show up day one, right? Day two. But here we are, day three, and you're with me, right? And Lee, and you mean business, right? You showed up, right? That's honestly just a little nugget out there, part of success in life. Half the battle is just showing up, right? So I really want to thank you for showing up. That's really it. I don't care what, you look at the people around, doctors, lawyers, a lot of these folks, it's not that they're geniuses, right? It's just that they showed up, right? When they were tired to get out of bed, right? For some of you, maybe in a 9 to 5 to, I'll share a little bit more about my story on Friday, but believe me, I also sacrificed a lot. I used to walk out on my accounting job in Midtown Manhattan with my laptop, and I said, you know what? If folks are going to go out to take a smoke break, I'm going to take a trading break. And I used to take my laptop out with I didn't have hotspot, right? I had like a little Verizon MiFi device, 4G. This is like a decade ago plus. Used to trade in the Majestic Deli, right? And I used to I used to wake up super early to be able to learn this stuff. So trust me, for all of you that are making sacrifices from different time zones, right, Frank? I have no idea what time it is in the Netherlands. Maybe you help me out, okay? And Frank, Alan, awesome. You know what? Wasn't able to make it for the session 2, but he's here. He watched the replay and he's here with us now. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. I'm assuming it's 6 o'clock p.m., right, Frank? And let me get on with it. So, okay, awesome, Frank. Well, I really appreciate you. Okay, so this is, if you're not in our WhatsApp group, this is how you're going to be able to access it, right? So you're going to go to www.5daybd.com. Okay, Arunas, I'm with you, buddy. We're going to get started real soon. Okay, thanks for your patience. And in this challenge dashboard, you'll have access to the WhatsApp group right here. So if you click on this, right, on your phone, right, you could join our chat. And I really would like to ask everyone, that's my first action item today. I don't know if this is for you, but I want you guys to go in and click on this link and make sure you're in the WhatsApp group and just say hello and where you're from, okay? Awesome. So please do that. Then we have our challenge workbook. And then we also have all the resources that Lee laid out in day one, okay? So just want to make sure, a quick refresher for those of you that are just joining us, right? You have the replays from day one here, day two here, and as you can see our schedule for tomorrow, we're at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and Lee will remind everyone about a special event that we have going on with Traders Corner. Lee, I owe you that short link. And then Fridays when I'm going to be coming back. And just to give you a sneak peek of my training, this is what I think is a $1,000 training, okay? I'm going to be going over a very special keynote, okay? And the topic is how to make more trading in just 10 minutes than most people make all week, okay? That's actually a picture of Lee over there. I'm working on the slide deck right now, and this is a $1,000 training that I've done. Honestly, I would say not more than a dozen times. I don't do it, you know, it's a special presentation, and it's only for folks that go through the challenge live, okay? And for those of you that may have seen it, I'm switching up a lot of stuff, and it's going to be really awesome. All right, so we went through the challenge dashboard. I really appreciate everyone joining in our WhatsApp group. I really appreciate you guys coming in with a great attitude to learn, right? And soon Lee's going to go over the trade room with you as well. So Lee, are you with us today?
I'm here. Yep, you should be able to hear me.
All right, Lee, I'm going to pass it back to you. But just while I'm here, I just want to tell everyone, right? So you could see here, we're going to be trading at, actually, hold on a second. I think I'm in, maybe I'm caching, Lee, or maybe I don't know why I'm seeing the outdated times here in the lobby area.
Hopefully you're caching.
I think I'm caching. That's probably what it is. Okay. So hang on a second. Do you want to take back the screens, Lee?
Yeah, I did.
You did? All right. Well, listen, I just want to say, guys, today, I just want to warm up one last time what Lee's going to be going over with you today. So three big things today, okay? Lee's going to go over our Pro Trade Room, right? So he's going to go over how the Pro Trading works. He's going to go over the login, how you guys could join us for the FOMC. He's going to go over earnings trades, okay? When I started this 10 years ago with my buddy Jay, one of the things that we never traded was earnings, stock earnings, right? Broadcom, Facebook, Meta, right? Meta, Google. And Lee today is going to show you, right? And I give Lee 100% of the credit here, how we use our JV software, how we use something we call the range trade to be able to trade stock earning reports that come out quarterly, right? And honestly, even if there's nothing else that you traded from, you learned all this stuff, not my cup of tea, I prefer this style, and you only traded this one setup that Lee's going to teach you today, just that alone could make you lots and lots of money, okay? I know firsthand. I've taken trades on Netflix and Google and Meta, and these are some big moving reports that come out quarterly, and Lee's going to show you his secret way of teaching it, okay? So this is a real treat, all right, Lee? So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera, but guys, quick check-in. Everyone good? Everyone ready to roll? Because I know I'm a little bit past the 10 minutes that I promised, so let's get on with it, okay? Here we go. Thank you, Lee.
Okay, everybody, just let me know for sure you can hear my voice really well. And that you can see the opening screen, why trade on a schedule. And we're going to get started right away. No hesitation. We're going to go right into it. So everybody could see me. So let me just say hello for 1 second. I'm not going to keep my screen on. Hello, everybody. I am a real person, not a bot. So we'll get started. Okay. We are going to go into the trade room at 1:30. So we will finish at 1:30 no matter what. And I think it'll probably be a perfect length, talking about trading earnings with futures. So let me shoot my slides into the right place over to day 3. And here we go. We really do trade earnings with futures. And it's just one of those things that happen by accident. So many things in trading can happen by accident. That's what's so interesting about trading. You could be sitting watching a chart and then you notice, hey, this price, it gets tested all the time. Hey, that's the high of the day. Wow, I wish I could figure out a way to trade that and to set up a, to create a setup around that. And that's how trading gets developed. We were looking at an after the market or a market close NQ trade. And in fact, the other day we were doing one of our earnings trades at the end of the day, and I noticed there is still a market move at the end of the day. And it usually takes place around 10 of 4 p.m. The market closes theoretically at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And there is a dramatic move very often in the market about 10 minutes before. And the key word there is about, and that's what makes it tricky. The end of the day trade, we struggled mightily for maybe for more than a year. And we never could really find a perfect event. We tried, we had setups for the NQ, we tried the ES, but while we were doing all this testing, out of the corner of a lot of our eyes, we were noticing the market would close and there would be these fantastic moves. Right after the market closed, and put two and two together, we realized we're witnessing futures markets were reacting dramatically to earnings. So we decided to try and come up with a methodology to trade futures and earnings. Now, when we first started, I was never have I been a big stock trader. So let me repeat this because people are constantly confused about it. We're trading earnings, stock earnings, but we're not trading the stock. We're trading futures. So that's a very important differentiation between what an options trader might do with the stocks or a stock day trader. One thing to understand is day trading stocks is much more complicated than day trading futures. The rules surrounding the amount of money that you must have in your account are much more complicated. And that's why you don't see as many people trading in and out of stocks like you do see people trading in and out of futures. And it's all because there's rules. You can't just buy and sell a stock over and over and over every day, 3, 4, 5 times a day, unless you have a fairly significant amount of money in your account. So we wanted to find a way to trade some of the stock earnings. We realized it probably wouldn't be every stock. And we realized we first started out with the FANG stocks, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. And we started out, we added to the mix Intel, and we looked at IBM, and we had about 6 or 7 earnings trades that we would trade with futures. And we didn't know what we were doing. Or I should say, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew that we had tools that we could use. We had our software, of course. We had NinjaTrader, of course, but we didn't have a whole heck of a lot of other tools. So what kind of tools might you need? You need the ability to see the stock itself moving. That's very helpful, obviously. So you need something that shows you after hours stock price movement. You have to make sure that your futures contracts are set up so that you see the after hours movement in your futures charts as well. And we, at the beginning of the day, when we used to do this, when we first started, we have a multi-broker NinjaTrader account. What that means is we could take data from another broker and bring it into our NinjaTrader charts. So in the beginning, we were doing that because there used to be a connection between one of the tools that we use, Thinkorswim, and NinjaTrader. That's one of the tools that has changed over the years because Thinkorswim was sold and we no longer have the link between the two accounts. It really makes no difference, but it was kind of nice to be able to just look at our NinjaTrader charts and also see the stock movement. But we'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. So to simplify, we noticed that it was possible to trade futures because the futures react, some of them very strongly, on stock price earnings. So that's what we did. We used to do it very, very, very manually also. This is our schedule today. I just want to give everybody a heads up with everything. Welcome, of course, to day 3. We're going to cover the range trade. That's a major tool that we use. And I want to give everybody the action item. Even though the action item is a little bit of a back step, it's very important. And I want to make sure that everybody, especially given what we covered yesterday, everybody has the links for all the important calendars that we use. The action item is to discover and to use these calendars and to let us know in the WhatsApp group that you've looked at all these calendars so that we know that you're really taking our knowledge, you're using our knowledge as best as you can. Earningswhispers.com, I'm going to show you in a few minutes why it's so important as a tool for our trading earnings. Investing.com, forexfactory.com, and financialjuice.com. Financialjuice.com and earningswhispers.com are special tools that help us very, very much when we do earnings. So that is the action step. Please download, you don't have to download, but go to all those websites over the next couple of days and start to get familiar with the calendars. Even if you don't trade the way that we trade, they will help you to be aware of what's going on in the markets so that you don't get blown out of trades because news came out when you didn't realize it was coming out. All right, so keep that in mind. Also, Vinny King is the winner of our swag pack for yesterday. So Vinny, congratulations. Email us your shipping address, help@10minutetrades.com. So congratulations to Vinny. And then let's get started more and more, okay? Also, we are giving everyone a free trade room pass. The password is holiday, all right? And the minute we're done in the room today, I should be able to time this pretty well. After we're done, everyone's going to go over to the trade room and you'll see the way that we deal with a very important event. Today is the FOMC statement. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a trade. I don't know if we're going to watch. I don't know yet what's going to happen, and we'll see how volatile the markets are. It's going to be fun. It'll be a great learning experience for everyone, and you're all invited. So make a note that the password is holiday, and the link that you use to get to the trade room is www.10mtfamily.com. I will post it. I have posted it into the chat for everyone. Okay, so that is the password. And when you go there, what you'll see is very simple. You'll see a login. Let me just see if I can get rid of something here without showing it to you. You're going to get a login that looks like this, okay? It'll ask for your name, your email, a password, and then also we have our schedule is in the trade room lobby. The trade room lobby is what we call the URL to the password, is the URL to the trade room. All you need to get into the trade room is the password. The URL you have, the name and the email is whatever you type in. So the password is the key, holiday, all lowercase, all right? And then you're invited today and tomorrow. So you're welcome to come into any of the rooms that we have today, tomorrow, and Friday. It's only Wednesday. I keep thinking I'm a day late this week. All right, so our last event is the FOMC statement today, but you could come into the trade room tomorrow. We've got 6 events, it looks like, okay? So when you get there, when you get to that URL, it's gonna ask you for your name. You could type in a nickname, LG or RG or PG, but just make sure that you type in a valid email address and that you use the password holiday, and it will let you into the trade room. And then you'll know you're there. I'll show you quickly what you'll see. When you get to the trade room, it's going to look like this. Give me half a second. And you can talk to other people when you get to the trade room. You can talk to me when you're in the trade room. It's a really, really great place. So give me half a second. I apologize. My charts are just with the slides and everything. Let me get this logged in. And it will look like this when you get there. It'll look a little different because I'm a administrator. But when you get to the trade room, it'll look like this, where you'll see people on the side. You'll have a taskbar and the charts you'll see. All right. So just remember, holiday is your password, and everybody's welcome to come in. So now let's get back into our earnings and the tools needed for trading earnings with futures. So a couple of things I made notes of that you can look at, the tools that I use. So one of the first things that I love, the most important thing, is earningswhispers.com. I mean, earnings are different than news reports. News reports in general, they're regulated by the government. In other words, it's the Labor Department that releases the jobs report. But earnings, companies can do whatever they want when it comes to earnings. They're not any laws or any rules that say that a company has to release their earnings at a particular time. That's why you find, a jobs report, they really release on time. Whereas with earnings, one of the challenges that we face is we can only trade the earnings on companies that tend to be reliable about the way in which they release their earnings. So if you have a company and every quarter they release their earnings at a different time, and they are not reliable about the way they release their earnings, it makes it almost impossible for us to have a trade set up. Because think about the way that we trade. We trade on a schedule. So if the schedule has no reliability, then that particular company will probably not be one of our choices for companies we use to trade earnings. So a couple of interesting things happened when we first started trading earnings. We always were interested in trying to trade Apple. And I always bring up Apple because Apple is a unique situation. When we first started trading Apple, the futures markets used to close at 4:15 p.m. Eastern time until 4:30. Apple used to release their earnings exactly at 4:30 p.m. And a funny thing happens whenever markets are closed, a gap gets created at the exact moment the market reopens. And we would try quarter after quarter to trade Apple's earnings, and we could almost never get around that gap. But something fantastic happened, and they started keeping the futures open. The futures no longer close at 4:15 to 4:30. So it's absolutely fantastic. We can now trade Apple exactly when their earnings come out, and we don't have to worry about a gap. So here's something interesting. I just find this so fascinating that even when we had the gap we still occasionally had successful Apple trades. Here's charts. Here's what our charts looked like in 2020 when we were back, and actually this was January of 2020. It was right before the pandemic. We were trying to trade Apple. We knew that the markets closed at 4:30 before their earnings came out, but we also knew that we had to deal with a gap, and it wasn't possible most of the time to trade Apple's earnings. But that's what our charts looked like in the old days when we traded Apple. Now our charts are much simpler. They look exactly like they looked yesterday when we were setting up our charts. We don't do anything different for trading earnings in using our charts. And that's another beauty of our system. We are very, very consistent amongst all the different styles of trading that we do. So you don't have to learn 20 different chart setups. It's all basically the same chart setup. Now, tool number one of the best tools that's available for earnings, earningswhispers.com. You go to their website, the first thing you'll see is the greatest hits. Right across the top, they put what they feel are the most important earnings of the next week or 2 weeks. Ballpark, they give you what they think are going to be what people are most interested in. That does not necessarily mean these are the companies that we are going to automatically be trading. That's not what the case is. We go to calendar and we click the calendar, and I actually come up with a schedule by just gradually going day by day through the calendar. Like for instance, today is Wednesday. They list what companies are releasing their earnings. They show the time, and they have this little control panel here with these arrows. And you can just page through the days by clicking on these little arrows. So this is tool number one, earningswhispers.com. Then let's say, for instance, I'm interested in trading FedEx. I can double click on the FedEx symbol, and then I can scroll down a little bit, and I can see, well, what happened last quarter when FedEx released their earnings. They have a note. They have some information. They also have a chart of FedEx and recent earnings trades with FedEx. That can be very useful because it could show you how much movement there was in the chart. It also, at a glance, shows you the price of FedEx. There's certain things that we have learned. We've learned that why does a company move an index? Why can we trade the NQ on Apple's earnings? And it's because Apple has a heavy weighting as a part of the NQ. So Apple tends to move the NQ. FedEx, they're not a big NQ stock. They move the YM if we trade. So you want to learn, we learn by looking up the information, which companies are heavily weighted in the different futures instruments or in the indexes. If it's a Dow S&P 500 stock, it may not move the NQ. If it's a NASDAQ stock, then there's a good possibility that their earnings are going to move the NQ. But there's more to it also. If the company sells for $1.50 and that's the stock price, that stock is probably not going to move anything because they're just not a very impactful company, and their weighting is going to be small because their stock price is extremely low. So what we have learned over the years is the stock companies that we trade are more often than not the more expensive companies, and they are the stocks that's one of the reasons why those stocks move the instruments, okay? So you see, FedEx is an expensive stock. It's going to tend to have a possibility of moving and being one of the stocks we are going to investigate to trade earnings. Now, for us, FedEx just hasn't been a great one. Another clue that you sometimes get from earningswhispers.com is they give the time of the previous earnings release. FedEx is supposed to release at 4 o'clock, and they're showing 4:03 was the actual time that that earnings report came out. We don't want 3 minutes late on a stock earnings report. That means we have to keep orders on the chart for a longer period of time. It increases the risk of the event significantly, and that's really not a plus. So earningswhispers.com, if you know how to look at it, it gives us help and clues as to whether or not a company is going to be a good choice to do with earnings. What we want to see in general is if their earnings at 4:05, then we want to see Thursday, September 19th at 4:05. I don't want to see 4:07. I don't want to see 4:08. I want to see the time the earnings were expected. That's when I want the time of the earnings to be released. What we've done over the years to save you the effort, we've gone into our trade room and we've been there and we've watched a lot of these companies release their earnings. Yesterday, if you came to our API trade room, we were investigating a new company that we were interested in possibly trading their earnings. And the sticker symbol, if I remember correctly, and you can put the symbol in on earningswhispers.com, it was a company called Heiko, all right? Why were we maybe interested in this company? It's an expensive stock. They have some good movement on their earnings. Also, if you can get a day when there's very few other stocks releasing their earnings, it makes it much easier to get a clean reaction in the futures. It's hard to trade earnings. What do you do if Amazon and Facebook or Meta are releasing their earnings at exactly the same time? What if one of the earnings is positive and one of the earnings is negative? That could create a whipsaw. So another thing that we look for is we want companies to release their earnings alone, or we want that the company that we're trading to be the main event, the main company that moves the market. Let's be honest, if you're trading earnings and Amazon earnings are coming out and a $3 stock is against Amazon at the same time, you don't really have to worry about that $3 stock. They're not going to infiltrate or poison your Amazon trade. So these are things we look for also when we're trading earnings. Are the earnings being released by themselves? Does the company release their earnings on time? Those are things that are very, very important when we trade selected stock earnings with futures. And that's all just figured out with research. We have done so much research. I didn't know that Apple released their earnings at 4:30 all the time, and they were very, very exacting about when they released their earnings. Look at Apple's last earnings. We had a bunch of lousy Apple's earnings. We went through a period where Apple earnings used to be a family money trade, and then all of a sudden Apple just started not trading well. Their earnings reports weren't working. And we went into the room last quarter and I was thinking to myself, Apple owes us. It's been a while since we've had a really phenomenal Apple earnings trade. Here's what happened last quarter on Apple earnings. And last quarter was not that long ago. Let me see if I hope this is the right video. It was the 31st. Yep. And this also illustrates more of the tools that we use. So here's our trade. I know that Apple releases at 4:30. So I put our orders on our charts a couple of seconds before those orders are released, okay, before the news is released. I'm also looking at tools that I use, Thinkorswim, their news feed. it shows me exactly when Apple's earnings are released. In the early days, when I really had no clue what I was doing when I first started trading earnings with futures, sometimes you couldn't tell that the earnings came out because the market just didn't move that much. And we would struggle waiting, thinking the earnings hadn't come out. Sometimes the earnings came out and we just didn't have a move. Now we look at the actual stocks, we have tools to help us, and we see the actual news feed release. So we know for sure when those earnings are out. The more doubt we remove, the more successful we became as earnings traders. Watch this Apple trade. The news comes out, the NQ is going to blast down. And that was an $800 trade for us in a nanosecond, like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. The tools that I use are, of course, NinjaTrader charts, right? I'm using our NinjaTrader charts. I'm using earningswhispers.com to start my analysis for the week. I go to earningswhispers.com. I check their calendar. Once again, I'll show it to you one more time because it's very important. I know everybody thinks it's so simple, but you want to know how to manipulate their website just a little bit. So you go to calendar, and then if the date doesn't show up here, you can just go over to the calendar in December. So for instance, I could click on next week, next Tuesday. There's not going to be anything next week, right? So we'll go further back the other way. It's a very, very quiet earnings period right now, but you can just page through with this little control panel. And there's very few earnings that we're looking at this time of year. We had a couple of great earnings last week and the week before. Broadcom was great. There was another one, I always forget, the Adobe was great. And people made quite a bit of money on those earnings. And then we had great Apple earnings. We had great Amazon earnings. It was a very, very good earnings season. So earningswhispers.com, go to calendar, and that will show you the stocks that are releasing and the time that they are releasing. And then right under that control panel, you can do a list view, or you could do a smaller view, and or the bigger view where you can see the symbols a little bit better. So earningswhispers.com, tool number one, critically important to what we do. Tool number two, for $50, you can open a Thinkorswim account and you can get live futures data, stock data. You can get options data. Thinkorswim is a great company, and they allow us to look at stock price before the market opens, after the market closes. So Thinkorswim has become a critical tool in our earnings trades. If you notice, and I'll show you a couple of earnings trades, on this setup, I'm looking at their news feed, which everybody can get. And all you have to do is I've kept $50 in my Thinkorswim account for a couple of years. They never bother me. Their tech support is phenomenal. If I want to put more money in that account and trade, I can. And the way they've treated me, I'm interested in them as a broker. If I ever retired from this job and wanted to do something else, Thinkorswim would very possibly be one of the brokers that I would be interested in using, because they've traded me fantastic, and I really like them. Here was a recent NVIDIA trade. First off, this was one of our members' trades. He made more than $1,000 on a recent NVIDIA trade. All right, I just want to give you a heads up. People are making money on these trades. These are his screens. He made $3,200 on that recent NVIDIA trade. 1,800 on the NQ, 1,400 on the ES. NVIDIA is one of those companies. They move multiple stocks, multiple instruments. Here's what NVIDIA looked like in the trade room. When members come into our trade room, and that was the move was unbelievable on NVIDIA. So I use Thinkorswim, and some days I will use the Thinkorswim charts, okay? And let me just give you an idea what their charts look like. I mean, it really doesn't make any difference whether you use NVIDIA, whether you use the Thinkorswim charts, or what I've discovered is you can use TradingView, and you can use the free version of TradingView. You can type in a stock, for instance, Amazon, all right? Also, it shows you Amazon, which we know it's part of the NASDAQ, but maybe it's a stock you're not familiar with. Maybe you're not sure if it's NASDAQ, S&P, Dow. It helps us. So you can look at stock pricing using TradingView. Very, very good platform. And they have a free version. And we have found that that free version very often works great after hours. So we can use the TradingView charts and or Thinkorswim. The reason that we love Thinkorswim is because you get that news feed in Thinkorswim, and that is vitally important. This little news feed just tells us when those earnings are actually out. They show you 100% certain that the earnings have been released. So there's no doubt if there's a small move in the stock and you're unsure, then having that feed is a great tool. Another great tool, Financial Juice. Why do I always mention Financial Juice? Financial Juice, they're a news company, all right? They're like us in some ways in that their existence is dedicated to news. They have a paid version. Now look, everything isn't free when you're a trader. If you're serious about trading, you're going to have to make some investments in your trading. And that's the reality. And some of those investments are going to be tools. Financial Juice has a Squawk Box. This Squawk Box here, that's part of their system, talks the news in a headset. So you can connect a Bluetooth headset to your computer and you can listen to the news all day long while you're trading. So if you're trading Amazon, chances are really good Financial Juice is covering Amazon's earnings, and they're going to announce Amazon's earnings exactly when they're released, because that's what Financial Juice does. They release their news and their Squawk Box exactly when the news is released, and that's a tool that is very helpful also. While I'm trading, I could be listening to the news. It's less distracting than constantly watching and looking at different charts all the time. If you can also listen and hear, that is a major, major, major plus that will help you become a better trader. It'll help you make decisions. Should I get out of the trade? Are the earnings horrendous? Are they saying something that might make me want to make sure that I'm short and I'm long? Maybe I want to change direction. Things like that can happen during a trade. So the tools are very, very important. But also, it's not so complicated. These tools are very simple. We're just talking about watching the stock price and looking at a news feed and listening to some news, right? This is not so complicated that anybody couldn't do it, right? That's the deal. But what is the key? What makes it so that we can do it better than the next guy? Have you ever tried putting a bracket around price 1 second before an Amazon trade when you're not even sure when that Amazon trade is coming out? The key, the help, the fantastic element of what we do is our software. Our software manages our trades. It puts our orders on the charts before the news comes out. It helps take all of the stress, most of the stress, out of the trade. Look at this NVIDIA trade. It's not so easy to be looking at charts, putting your orders on the charts, getting everything ready, We do it in advance. My orders were on the chart in advance automatically. I don't have to worry about my orders showing up. I program my software, make a setup for NVIDIA, save the setup so I can call it up and be ready for NVIDIA. Yes, we could change the setup if we think our bracket should be bigger. That's what the Thinkorswim stock charts look like. The point is, our software is the key to trading what we're going to do. And to trade, our software is the key to trying to make money, right? It allows us to put the orders on. When the news comes out, what happens? The price explodes, it goes through the orders, and it puts us in the market. Sometimes puts us in the market, hits our target, takes us out, and all we do is smile and look at what a great trade that was. And many, many, many times, earnings trades work that way. Earnings trades, more than most other trades, require less management overall because they tend to move more than other events. And it's just a great way to trade earnings when you can take advantage of the moment of the news being released and then be out of the market in a couple of seconds. It's a great way to trade. That's what we like to do. We like to schedule our trades, and these earnings trades can be scheduled. Now, NVIDIA and Apple are very standard breakout trades. And just so everyone knows, I will go through all the questions before we leave, okay? And I'll go through and answer everybody's questions. So first things first is we have our regular breakout for earnings, but not all companies lend themselves to breakouts. Sometimes we want to set up ranges. And when an earnings release makes the market move through a range, then there are earnings we trade in a different way using our range trade software. So let me back out of this video. We've covered Thinkorswim. Just as a recap, we use Thinkorswim to look at the chart price, the stock price, the actual price at the time of the earnings, and we look at their news feed. Financial Juice Pro. We use Financial Juice Pro to listen to the news release and to actually keep an eye on other news that might be taking place in the market, okay? I will answer every question. Vicky, what are you saying? What would you do if you own, if I owned Micron? So here's the thing, Vicky, we don't know what we would do. We're trading the earnings release. I don't care if the earnings go up or down. We're not even discussing holding a stock or buying a stock. We're trading the futures. We're trading just whether or not Micron might move the market. So we don't care if they go up or down. We only care if Micron creates a move in the market. We're not the company that tells you if you should buy Micron or sell Micron. I don't even know if they're going up or down on their earnings. All I know is that there are companies that make significant moves in the market when they release their earnings, and I'm going to make money on that move. And I'm going to find those companies that make those moves. So some of those companies are very good for using our range trade software. One of the companies that we have traded for quite a few years is Home Depot. And I'm no fan of Home Depot as a company. And this is the beauty about trading. It doesn't matter if you hate the company you trade or if you love the company you trade. Once again, the only thing I care about, does Home Depot move the market when we trade it? That's it. So let me show you the way we traded Home Depot, and then I will teach you a little bit about our range trade because it's very powerful. So I know a couple of things about Home Depot, all right? I know that Home Depot releases their earnings at the same time every single quarter, without a doubt. I've never seen a quarter in the past 2 years where Home Depot has not released their earnings on time. So I can create a range on the chart, okay? Watch. When we create a range, the top line is the long order, the bottom line is the short order, and the middle line is the range. So maybe it's creating a 4-tick range or a 6-tick range. We have a command in our software: put your orders 4 ticks above the range and 4 ticks below the range. And if that range gets broken, then you probably have a trade that's going to move. So Home Depot, just as an example, our orders show up on the chart. We've got our range. And now when the earnings come out, if they break the range, we'll get pulled into the market. And in this particular case, it is going to break the range, or I wouldn't have that recording. The price goes up, it pulls me into the market. I'm going to get filled. I bring my orders down. I'm now in the market. I've got 2 orders above. I've got a stop below us. And what I want to see happen is the price to go up. It hits my first target. I can move my stop to safety. If price continues up, then I'll make more money. If price goes down, then I'll get stopped out with a small profit. Here's another Home Depot. This is going back. This was in May. That's how long we've been trading Home Depot. Our last Home Depot was a winner. I can't remember actually losing money on Home Depot. I don't remember the last time. I'm not even sure we ever have. This was Home Depot going back to May. We trade the YM futures because when Home Depot releases their earnings, look what happens. The YM futures move. On the right, we were actually looking at Home Depot's chart. That was back in the day when we could bring the price into our Ninja Trader. Now we would just look at the Home Depot chart on Thinkorswim or on TradingView. It actually makes no difference. It's just a different way of seeing the price. But we have a different way of trading some of the earnings reports that we do, and some of them we use our range trade software to trade earnings. So, and our range trade software can do a million other things. So let me explain, because that was one of the lessons for today, our range trade software. What is so great about it? Why do we love it? So let's face it, how many of you look at a certain time frame and you like to trade the breakout after that time has passed? It's very popular for people to trade from 9:30 to 10 o'clock in the morning, and then trade at 10 o'clock when the market makes its move after that range between 9:30 and 10 is broken. So let's say, for argument's sake, and I didn't look at the market this morning, but to turn on our software, you right click, click on strategies, double click JOBB version 11, and now I need the range trade. So I look at the very top trade type, range trade. Second choice, I click range trade. So now all of these items down here that we can scroll through, all of these items are the range trade, remembering that hardly any of these items do we have to change. Most of the things that you change in a trade are going to be the number of contracts that you trade, the time you're going to trade, what the name of the trade's going to be. You give it a label. This is not that complicated, friends and folks. This is all pretty easy. Let's say you woke up this morning and you want to start your range trade at 9 a.m. So we have a range trade, 9 a.m. I just put the time in, 9 a.m. What if I want to enter the market if the market moves 10 ticks above the range? And you'll see what I mean when I say the range. So I put plus 10 ticks above the range, 10 ticks below the range. Also, I want to see the range. I want to see the range draw on the chart, don't I? So I'm going to click show the range graphics on chart. I'm going to click that. Then I'm going to go back up to the top. What time is my range going to end? 10 o'clock. But I said 9:30, didn't I? And I typed in 9. So let's put 9:30 in like we said. The market's going to open at 9:30. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to have created a 30-minute range. Now, how many contracts, how many positions do I want to trade? Let's say 2. So position size 1 is a 1, position size 2 is a 1. That means I have 1 contract for each position. And I've got a target for each position. Let's say 10 ticks for target 1, 10 ticks for target 2, 20, we'll do 20. And we have a stop. And let's use a 20 tick stop. That's almost a complete trade. I've got a range trade created. I'm going to start looking at the market at 9:30. The market is going to, range is going to stop calculating at 10. So I've got a 30-minute range. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to label the trade range trade, okay, because that's something we do. And there's a reason why we label our trades, and you'll see why in a minute. And then now I don't really need to do anything else. Everything else is pretty much default. I got to choose my account. I'm going to leave it in Sim because we're just teaching a lesson here. I'm going to apply and I'm going to OK. I'm going to enable my trade, which is in the control panel in NinjaTrader. I can see my trade because the tab, strategy tab, is chosen. I'm not looking at my accounts. I'm looking at the strategy. I enable the trade. Now, what happens is a range has been created, right? Now, I didn't get filled yet. So I'm going to check, I'm going to turn off the actual trade, okay? But what has happened here is a range started calculating at 9:30. At 10 o'clock, it would put my orders on the chart plus 10 ticks, minus 10 ticks, and you'd have the opportunity to get in that trade, okay? You have a start time on the range, and you have an end time on the range. And you have, let's do it at a current time. Let's put the time in at 12, and let's put 11:30. Let's see if I can do this. Let's put 11 o'clock and we'll put 1300 hours, all right? 13:30. So in theory, that means we have a range that we're starting to look at 11 in the morning. And then at 1:30, our range will end and our orders will show up on the chart. Apply it, put my charts back where they belong at 11 o'clock. Now, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What I did, hang on 1 second here, is I got to make sure that I told the software to show the range graphics on chart, okay? Very important. I want to start, I did it backwards also. I started my range at 13:30. I wanted to start it at 11. Start the range at 11, end it at 1:30. That would be 13:30. That's why my range was all goofed up. Nothing was right. Start it and end it at the right time. Start at 11:30, end it 13:30. Now watch the correct situation take place. Now we have a range that we're watching. We're waiting until 1:30. At 1:30, our order up here is going to get placed, and our order below there is going to get placed because we told the software 10 ticks above the range or 10 ticks below the range, I'm interested in triggering a trade. So of course you don't have to be there until the last minute that you're interested, but it calculated the range starting at 11:30, and then it will put orders on at 1:30. So what's so important about this? How does this fit into earnings, number one? If we know that a company releases their earnings around 4:15, we can start a range at 4:14 and we can end it at 4:14 and 59 seconds. And if that range gets broken at 4:15 or 4:16 when the earnings come out, we have ourselves a trade. If you love to trade between 10 o'clock and 10:15, you can set up a range trade any time of day that you want to set up a trade. You can set up a range trade. All you do is put the time in. Right now it's a little bit after 1, so I could put in 1 o'clock, right, which is 13, because that's the way we do it. But I could start my range at 1 o'clock, right? Range start time, 1300. I can end it at 13:07, right? I've got a 7-minute range if that's what I'm interested in. Apply it, okay it, enable it. It's going to calculate my range. It's already past 07, so it puts my orders 10 ticks above the range, 10 ticks below the range. If I wanted my orders 2 ticks above the range or 2 ticks below the range, I just change that simple ticks above the range, ticks below the range. Instead of 10, I could make it 2, and look how it changes. Apply it and okay it to make the change. Now my orders are right above the range instead of being further up. Also, in an earnings trade, maybe the earnings are really late and you want to just move your orders a little bit. You have that ability because NinjaTrader has the ability to move orders. Also, if you're calculating a range and the earnings come out early and you want the range to trigger, you could click the Range Trade Now button and it'll start the trade right away instead of waiting for the range to finish calculating. Very similar to what our magnet trade does. If you see a magnet trade start to look like it's definitely going to start working, you can enter the trade early, and we do the same thing with our range trade. Any questions? Let me go through the questions, all right? Does everybody understand the idea that first is behind our tools for earnings? We're trading futures. We're trading the companies that release their earnings in a reliable manner. If Home Depot releases their earnings every quarter, almost at the same time, then I can set up a trade that's very similar to an FOMC trade or to a jobs report trade. And it allows me to trade a whole collection of events that we never even dreamed we could trade, okay? So the tools are simple. Thinkorswim, Financial Juice, earningswhispers.com. Those are the tools that we said. And then the range trade. Sometimes you don't want to put your orders on the chart. Sometimes you want to watch the market, create a range, and you want to put your orders on the chart after a range is created. And then if the range gets broken by an earnings release or by a news report, that's when you want to get pulled in the market. All right, let me answer a lot of questions. There's a whole bunch of questions. And there's always one person who's so unbelievably ridiculous. You're so glad they've left. That's all I can say. All right, here we go. Sorry, I don't understand what you do. Okay. All right. That's person just trying to be foolish. Yes, we've recorded everything. Do we have, this is a good question. Do we have specific brackets for each stock on earnings? On the NQ for each of the stocks reports. So, Srinivas, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Sometime in general, we have a setup that repeats over and over. But often, not always, but often, the market is different each quarter from the way it was the quarter before. The market might be so volatile on a particular random quarter that we might increase our brackets and we might sometimes increase the stop. So being part of the community, coming into the trade room and trading with us is why we recommend taking part fully in what we do. But to answer your question, very often we use a 65 tick bracket for Amazon trades. That's the common bracket we use for Amazon. We use smaller brackets for trades that take place in the morning because the markets are not moving nearly that big. We might only have a 12 tick bracket or an 8 tick range, 8 ticks above the range, 8 ticks below the range. We might have a trade like that in the morning. The morning earnings trades, Home Depot, some of the retailers, they generally move less, but they're still very profitable. And you can trade extra contracts on those early morning earnings. So there's different ways to deal with different situations. Okay, let me go through these questions. Jim, okay, yes, you remember, right? So this is a refresh, which is part of what we do here. We want you to refresh because it helps. Okay, I'm not seeing a lot of questions, which is good. So is everybody clear on the idea and how we're trading earnings? So today, for instance, if you look at our weekly schedule, and I'll explain something about why I wasn't that interested in trading Micron's earnings. I've never watched it before. So I'm not automatically gonna take a trade unless I've tested it before. Every now and then we'll go into the trade room. I'll tell everybody, look, this is a test room, and we might set up a small trade with micros. We might test it with micros, but this is a trade. We never did it before. I don't know what's going to happen, but if you want to learn about how to use the software, we have a lot of test rooms and we do a lot of testing and we do it together because it's fun. And it's also, we're part of a community. We trade, we share, we go over ideas. But we've done a lot of earnings trades together when we didn't know for sure if those earnings trades were even going to work. And people learned how to use the range trades and they learned how to back test the trades, and it made for a much more successful experience. Micron, we just haven't traded their earnings. Not sure if they're going to move the market. So that would be a test. I would set up a trade and I would try and look and see what happens when their earnings are released. They might be great. That's how we found Adobe. That's how we found Oracle. That's how we found plenty of the trades that we trade. Okay, so how often would we add or remove symbols? Jim, what do you mean? How often add or remove symbols to watch for earnings? I don't understand what you mean. Oh, I'm always always looking for a new trade. So if a member comes in and says, hey, check this out, I'll check it out. Always looking for new trades. So, the first thing you do is when you're looking for new earnings trades, look for a stock that has a high price. That's the first thing I look for. Look for a stock that possibly is not trading with 100 other really important stocks. Does it trade by itself? Is it an important company that the market looks at? There's criteria that you might want to think about, like a company like Adobe. Lots and lots of people use their software. They're a very important company. So there was a good opportunity there. If it's a company that never heard of, that has no value, not no value, but is not as important in terms of not that many people look at it, that's the odds of that company being a good candidate for an earnings trade are not that good. But how often do we look for new setups? All the time. We're constantly looking for new setups. We try not to sit on our laurels, okay? We try very hard to continue looking for new setups because otherwise trades change. We lose trades. Trades go away. Building permits and housing starts, this is a trade we're probably going to stop trading. It has not had a lot of good setups. It just hasn't been making money. All right. So let's talk for a minute about the trade room. When we get to the trade room today, we have a setup for the FOMC. So when you get to our trade room, does everyone understand how to get to the room? You're going to type in this information and it will take you to the room. Okay, let me post it. All right, if you have problems and you can't get in, the password is holiday, HOLIDAY, lowercase. Use a different browser if you have a problem and you can't get in. There's really not a lot you can do, is just you need the password, type in an email, give yourself an ID, and you should be set. I'm going to leave now because I'm going to go get ready for the trade. Are there any other questions? Earnings with futures is not rocket science. Anybody can do it. Earnings is going to be, once the holidays are over, we're going to start getting ready again for a whole new earnings season. And we're going to have some big, great trades. And I'm always looking forward to earnings season because it's fantastic. We love trading earnings. And I check every week. If a company comes up and their earnings look interesting, we'll test it and we'll try to add a new company. So that's definitely what we want to do. Now, tomorrow, we're going to be covering family money trades and the magnet trade. All right. The magnet trade is a big, big part, more and more important in what we're doing here at 10-Minute Trade. So we love explaining about the magnets, and I love explaining about family money trades. All right. So I don't see any questions right now. Absolutely, Jim. You got to play with the magnet more and more. Well, we're going to use it more and more in the room. So you'll see it in the room. I want to thank everybody for coming. I'll get the video posted a couple hours after we're done in the trade room. So everybody come into the trade room, all right? I'm going to go into the trade room now, but I've got some prep to do. So let me just show you that I'm going to be in the trade room. Why don't you try and get in? See if you can get into the trade room. Our trade room is open, even if I'm not there. All right, so before I shut the webinar, I'm going to go into the trade room. Let me see if anybody is interested in coming in. You could tell me, I'll be able to see you. So hang on one second. I'm going to go in. And Srini is there, and you're a member, so you should be there more often. You should be using the trade room as much as possible. Hang on, because I'm not there. So I got to get there. Let me just get myself situated. And I'll show you I'll see if I see anybody that I recognize. All right. So I'm in the trade room, and right now I'm not, I see Alan is in there and Ray is in there. Jim just got here. Okay. Jim is there. Anybody else, you're welcome to come in. I'm not even streaming yet. I'll stream my charts right now. So you know, you'll see the charts that you're seeing in the GoToWebinar. Vicky, I see you. Great. Lafayette is there. Perry is there. Beautiful. Everybody, come on into the trade room, and I'll be back in a few minutes. And we'll go over. You'll see the way we do business. All right. And it's quite an interesting, potentially intense event. We don't know. So it should be very interesting. I see Langford is there. Calvin, I think, is there. But everybody, you're free to join. So come on in and learn about 10-minute trades. Okay, folks, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I'll see everybody tomorrow. We're a little bit later. I want to invite everybody. We've got a webinar with Traders Corner, okay? It's the holiday webinar for Traders Corner. I'll post the link. You're all invited to that also. And we're going to be talking about the magnet in there as well as in the class. So you're welcome to make your way in there also. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. And I'll post it. I'll see everybody in a few minutes in the regular trade room. Okay. All right, folks. I'll be over there in a couple of minutes. So thanks for enjoying the class. I'll see everybody later. Take care.